all of our demands, go to our website at kbla1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Good afternoon. This is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Two things happened last night, and America is going to spend the next 13 weeks pretending they're unrelated. In Michigan, a doctor named Abdul El Sayed, a man the party's own leadership tried to bury, won the Democratic Senate primary despite roughly $65 million in outside money and an establishment that had lined up behind Congresswoman Haley Stevens. He won about 15,000 votes out of nearly 1.5 million, a single percentage point. In Missouri, Congressman Wesley Bell beat former Congresswoman Cori Bush at a second time, 59-37, in the most expensive candidate primary in that state this year. $8.4 million spent, $7.2 million of it on Bell's side of the ledger. Same fault line, opposite verdicts, both about war. Because while we're counting ballots in Detroit and St. Louis, Reuters was reporting that the United States Army has expended virtually all of its long-range precision missiles, ATAC-MS, and the new precision strike missile in the war with Iran. 60% of our Patriot interceptors, half our THAAD, and Lockheed Martin last week walked away with a $58.6 billion contract to make more. So let's talk about the empty magazine and the ballot box in between. Our guest is none other than Dr. Wilmer Leon. He's going to help us think it through. This is the one man I want in the chair this afternoon. Dr. Leon is a political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, American government, and public policy. For 11 years, he was a lecturer and teaching associate in the political science department of Howard University in Washington, D.C. Dr. Leon has a PhD in political science from Howard University. That's his resume, but hear what it doesn't tell you. Dr. Leon is one of the few analysts in this country who refuses to let you separate the foreign policy question from the Black political question, who understands that money buys in what it buys in St. Louis and the missile that lands in Limmerd are drawn out of the same account. Dr. Leon, welcome back to the show.
As always, my brother, thank you for the invite. I greatly appreciate it. And hello to your audience.
Dr. Leon, what happened last night?
Well, what I think we're starting to really see is momentum from the primaries in New York and the primary for mayor in DC and what we saw in Colorado. It's starting to resonate across the country, and it's heightening a ideological fight within the Democratic Party that, to me, on one side of the ledger, doesn't really make any sense. And that's the ideological battle between those that align themselves with policy statements from the social democrats and versus the Democratic Party. Because when you look at the Democratic Socialists of America website, a lot of the things that they're articulating, a lot of the policy initiatives that they're championing are the very same issues that in the 60s, in the 70s, and in the 80s, Democrats told us they were supporting. I don't understand the confusion unless this has to do with the word socialist.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, we're going to dissect and unpack the elections in both Michigan and in Missouri. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with Dr. Wilmer Leon when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having. You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
We've had neighbors who have had the garbage truck potentially swipe their vehicles because if you park just a little bit too much into the street, you're at risk of getting it hit. If you park too much forward or back, you can't get in and out of your own driveway. And if you're late for a meeting or an appointment, pretty big deal. I really hope we never have a major emergency on this street because being able to get fire department in and out would be very difficult. Personally, while the project goes well beyond anything that my husband and I are facing personally with our home, we do have a very large project within our house. We are very blessed to be in it, but it needs a completely new foundation. It is currently slipping into Crenshaw right now, and we cannot do that work because a concrete truck can't come in to actually do the work. So it's a bit scary for us in that manner. But there have been, there are numerous things that I know we will hear about today that everybody is facing on a daily basis. We really look forward to hearing what everybody has been going through and then trying to find a way to get the construction complete and move forward.
Making sure they follow through. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Here's the deal. The government is over $38 trillion in debt, which means the IRS is not slowing down, and the tax code is complex and unforgiving. So it's not surprising if you're one of the millions of Americans that owe back taxes to the IRS. Unfortunately, they're the world's most powerful collection agency with the ability to garnish your wages, seize your bank accounts, and even take your home or business. But don't be stressed or worried any longer. We're Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. We have resolved over $3 billion in tax debt for our clients. Our award-winning professionals deal with the IRS every single day, fighting to protect our clients' assets and secure them the best possible deal. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, give Optima a call today.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk to me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon, and I can't think of a better guest to be on the program at this hour as we analyze yesterday's verdict. Empire Abroad is now redrawing the map of black political representation here at home, one step at a time. Money, mandate, and then machinery. Last night we had a split verdict. Michigan and Missouri as one story with two different answers. Dr. Leon, same super PAC infrastructure, opposite outcomes. What did El Sayed have that Cori Bush didn't? A coalition, a candidate, or just a state?
Well, I think El Sayed had, to a great degree, he had a very entrenched population in Michigan that was, very receptive to his argument, much more so, and that's a very large Muslim, very large Middle Eastern population in Michigan that voted to a great degree as a bloc versus I think a more prominent African-American political constituency in St. Louis, which I will say is not as mature in terms of understanding the real political dynamics that are impacting the community today. And what I mean by that is that black community in St. Louis is much more wedded to the Democratic Party infrastructure than the community in Michigan. So the money that AIPAC spent in St. Louis had a much more positive impact than the money they were spending in Michigan.
It's really interesting. I should offer a caveat. The new president and CEO of the Rainbow Push Coalition, Yusuf Jackson, campaigned last Sunday, and I believe between 6 and 8 churches across the city of Detroit with El Sayed, and he did emerge victorious by about 15,000 votes. Dr. Leon, Governor Whitmer endorsed Stevens late last month in what was read as the last effort to stop Sayed, and it failed. What does that mean when a popular governor's endorsement no longer moves a primary electorate?
Well, I think the answer to that question we have yet to see, because to me, the question now will become, what does she do now? What does she say now? And the example that I'll use for that is what happened in New York when Zohran Mamdani beat Cuomo in the primary. The Democratic Party doubled down on stupid. And they went against their own party nominee. So not only did Zohran Mamdani have to beat the Democrats to win the primary, he then had to beat the Democrats as a Democrat to win the general election. So if they stay stuck on stupid, then Governor Whitmer shows us she's not nearly as astute as a politician as I thought she would be.
Here's the hard question. Bell carried the backing of Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Emmanuel Cleaver, and the Congressional Black Caucus and a range of trade unions in Missouri. When Black institutional leadership and pro-Israel donor class end up on the same side of the ballot, what is that alliance actually purchasing and what is it costing?
They're not on the same side of the ballot. They're on the same side of the ledger because AIPAC has bought those people. Most of them anyway. So, I mean, I don't have all of those names and all of those numbers committed to memory, but I know a lot of the folks that you just mentioned, especially a lot of those in the CBC are getting a lot of money from AIPAC. And that's not illegal, but I think what we need to be asking ourselves as an African-American community and as a political constituency is, why will we sit idly by and allow an entity not only outside of our community, but an entity that represents interests outside of our country to hold such sway on the politics of the Black community? Do you think that the dominant Jewish community would allow the NAACP to do that?
It was an issue in my campaign. When I first ran for Congress in 1995, there were 4 synagogues in my district. Now there are 2. The Jewish community has shrunk in the 2nd Congressional District since I was elected in 1995. I spent $300,000, had been winning in every single poll until about the last month of the campaign. But slowly from January until the election in March, they spent $7.5 million blanketing the airwaves. And by the time March 17th rolled around, I did not recognize myself. It was a drowning process. And I'm talking about people who I delivered more than $1 billion to, couldn't hear through the noise. They all called me today saying, wow, some people still think I'm on the ballot and they're voting for me in November. It's not going to happen. Let me ask you this question because I'm actually following a little arc.
Well, let me make one quick point that is very, very important, because I mentioned the Jewish community, and I want to be very clear that it is not just the Jewish community. I do not want to paint. I said that more to be quick than I did to be right. Yeah. It's a Zionist-controlled politics. It is not a Jewish. It is because Zionism is a political ideology. I do not want to confuse the two with the religion.
And we do have some great allies in the Jewish community who are not supporting this war. Let me
That's
ask
my
you this
point.
question.
That's my point.
Bush ran on Medicare for all, affordability, abolishing ICE, and criticism of the Iran war. El Sayed ran on money in your pocket, money out of politics, Medicare for all. Nearly the same platform. Why did one land and the other lose by 22 points?
Because of the issue on the war, and because of the $9 million. If we trust the Washington Post article, Tuesday's race was a rematch of the 2024 primary where the pro-Israel lobby spent $9 million to unseat Cori Bush over her criticisms of Israel's conduct in the Gaza Strip. So it really, to me, it comes down to a very simple question. Hakeem Jeffries, Gregory Meeks, and the rest of the Congressional Black Caucus, where do you stand on genocide? Reverend Raphael Warnock, where do you stand on genocide? It's just that simple. Your morality cannot be selective. You've got to be consistent when it comes to the issues of morality. And they choose, because they're being paid to, they choose to be selective in their, I guess it's okay to have genocide in Palestine, but somehow we have a problem when they were committing genocide in South Africa. Explain to me the difference.
That's a great question, but let me unpack now where the money went. I know that we have a small technical difficulty in terms of your visual ability to see me, but you can certainly hear me. Let me ask you this question. This idea that we are now asking and have contributed or are paying military-industrial complex to spend and rebuild the magazine of $56.8 billion because we have essentially used the cachet of these missiles in this war, and we are not even, if in fact another conflict broke out that was an actual threat to the United States of America, in a position to even defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Leon?
Well, I think there are a number of elements that have contributed to this. First of all, whenever we talk about what's going on, whether it be in Ukraine or whether it be in the Middle East, this was a selective conflict. A selective conflict. Joe Biden decided to start the conflict in Ukraine. And if you question my analysis of that, you can go to Marco Rubio saying very clearly that it's a proxy war between the United States and Ukraine and Russia. Marco Rubio said that in the Trump administration. I didn't make that up. Donald Trump decided to go in to Iran. That was a selective war. That was not a war of necessity. And they made a huge miscalculation in thinking that they could quickly bomb the Iranians into submission. And they have now come to find out those folks don't play, those folks don't scare, those folks don't fold, because they are the axis of resistance. They are basing their action on morality. Getting back to the M word, they are in this for moral, cultural, social, religious reasons. And so Donald Trump thought, oh, I'll just send a few missiles in, I'll take out some of their leadership, and all these Iranians will rush into the street. Well, they did rush into the street by the millions, and they rushed into the street in support of their government, not to overthrow their government.
Dr.
Huge
Leon,
calculation.
in the campaign, had $58.6 billion, which is the size of the contract that the government just last week signed with the contractors to replace those missiles. Had that $56.8 billion been spent in Michigan and spent in Missouri, might the outcome of the election been different?
That's an interesting question. I would, you know what? If that money had been spent on infrastructure, if that money had been spent on providing health care, if that money had been spent on paying teachers' salaries and rebuilding schools, quite possibly, because that's where that money should be going. That's where our American tax dollars should be going. Not going to Lockheed Martin, not going to Raytheon, not going to McDonnell Douglas, so that we can bring more death and destruction around the people. Have to start asking themselves a very simple question, or two very simple questions that are related. For what? What is this getting us? What are we winning? And if the answer is, oh, we're defending democracy, then answer this question. Why did the United States go into Ukraine and overthrow the democratically elected government in Ukraine in 2014? If we're defending democracy. Why are we overthrowing democracies? Why are we kidnapping democratically elected presidents in Venezuela? Why are we trying to overthrow a democratically elected president in Cuba? Why won't we allow democratic elections in Haiti? If we are supposed to be the bastion of democracy, then why are we spending so much money, so much blood and treasure to overthrow democracies, to kidnap democratically elected leaders? Why are we doing this?
If you're riding on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, and the 110, you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. More when we come forward right here at KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now. A third suspect has been arrested in relation to the investigation into the death of Nolan Wells in Mississippi. He is Edward James Porter. This comes after earlier charges against two others. Wells, who was African-American, disappeared on Horn Island during a July 4th celebration, and he was found dead 2 days later. He was the only African-American in his group. Racial tensions abound in this case. Porter is charged with transmitting threatening communication, making bomb threats to a George County clerk's office and the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Stay with the Black Information Network for updates on this story. Millions across the Midwest are set to be slammed by a round of severe thunderstorms. Storms are set to produce heavy rain across the region, with major cities like Chicago, St. Louis, and Kansas City all expected to get hit. A level 2 out of 4 flash flood risk is in place for much of the area. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the free iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The losing streak for the Dodgers is up to 5. They lost to the Cubs 5-1 Tuesday night in Chicago. Longest losing streak of the season for the Dodgers. They did have something to feel good about last night. Pitcher Tariq Skubal was impressive in his debut with the Dodgers. Skubal, acquired in a trade Saturday night, struck out 6 in 6 innings of work. He retired 8 batters in a row before leaving after the 6th. The USC football team begins practice today with the nation's #1 recruiting class. Will that translate into a better season for the Trojans? Last year, the Trojans were 9-4, 7-2 in the Big Ten, but failed to earn a bid to the college football playoffs. In the 14 years of the playoff system, the Trojans have never been a participant. This will be the 8th season for Lincoln Riley as USC head coach. If he wants to come back for a 9th, he may have to get the Trojans into the playoffs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We love America in spite of, not because of. And that's the deepest kind of love. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt?
With Civic Tax Relief, they were able to save me upwards of $80,000 that I would have had to pay had I not reached out to them.
Get ready for a toll-free hotline. Take advantage of new IRS tax forgiveness programs that may protect you from IRS collection agencies.
I owe the IRS $37,000.
They have the power to garnish your wages, put liens on your property, and levy your bank account. Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS.
Civic Tax Relief basically represented me against the IRS. By the time everything was completed, I didn't owe the IRS anything.
Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
I would recommend anyone who has a tax problem to contact Civic Tax Relief.
Just call 800-285-3500, 800-285-3500. Don't wait. Call now. 800-285-3500, 800-285-3500.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Ooh-wee, Fridays just got better. What's up? I'm Amanda Seals, and this is your invitation to come and sit with me. Yes, get seated as I do my thing on KBLA Talk 1580. We're talking noon to 2 p.m., then back again 4 to 6 p.m. Same day, same station. Bring your opinions, because you know I'm going to have mine. Bring your questions, because you know I got answers. And bring yourself, because, baby, we want you to be authentic at all times. Fridays on KBLA Talk 1580. I'll be waiting. Join me.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest and regular contributor, Dr. Wilmer J. Leon, is the author of Politics, Another Perspective, Commentary and Analysis on Race, War, Ethics, and the American Political Landscape in the Age of Barack Obama. Dr. Leon, how can we support your work?
Just go to WilmerLeon.com. Just go to WilmerLeon.com.
Leon.com. Politics by Another Perspective. Dr. Leon, let me ask you a question. Let me shift for a moment, because there is a 60-day arrangement in the Strait of Hormuz, and I'm wondering if it's some kind of transfer of sovereignty. Under the temporary 60-day arrangement, vessels must enter on the strait on the Iranian side and exit on the Omani side and coordinate with Tehran even while on the Omani side. Is that a navigation protocol or a transfer of sovereignty?
Well, it sounds as though it's a navigation protocol that's designed to protect the territorial sovereignty of both Oman and Iran, as they are developing channels of transit that will protect the interests of both countries. And I think it's important to realize that the United States is not at the table. I'm going to drop out for a second and come right back.
Okay, I appreciate that. Dr. Leon's point is extraordinary at this moment because if you think about it, the way in which the Strait of Hormuz is now being divided up, ships are now not going to be charged a mandatory fee, though Iran is expected to press the case for voluntary insurance and environmental quality payments. It's just a matter of time, from my perspective, before these voluntary payments become customary and become a law. And once they do, these $4 a gallons of gas that we are paying for here in the United States, they will have found another way to implement a tax on all of us because of the unresolved elements of the security of people on both sides of this awful conflict that should have come to an end some time ago. I'm concerned, Dr. Leon, as you probably well know, that any taxes between Iran or Oman on coming in and out of the Strait of Hormuz is just the normalization of the conflict and a higher cost for gasoline and for petroleum over time.
Well, that could very well be, but I think it's also a way for Iran to collect some type of payment to be reimbursed for the damage that the United States has caused to their country. So it's a reparation, so to speak, in terms of it, because again, people need to understand this was a war of choice. It didn't have to happen. There was an agreement in place between the United States and Iran that covered and addressed the very issues that Donald Trump now claims he started this conflict in order to address. Either he can't read or nobody gave him the document. So you tear up the agreement and then you say, now I've got to fight you and I've got to murder your leadership in order to get, look, the Strait of Hormuz was open. Traffic was flowing, not only through the Strait of Hormuz, but through the Bab el-Mandab Strait on the Red Sea. Those things were open before Donald Trump decided to jump into the sandbox and kick all the sand out the sandbox.
Dr. Leon, help our listeners understand the relationship between the election in Michigan, the election in Missouri, the Gaza Strip, and the Strait of Hormuz. Draw that line for our listeners, and I want you to take your time so they can understand how these foreign politics are dictating what's taking place on the ground in American elections.
There was a time up till maybe, I'll say 5 years ago, that talking about the Zionist colonial settler state called Israel was for all intents and purposes off limits. If anyone came on American airwaves and questioned the tactics and the mission of that settler colonial state, they would be called anti-Semitic and they would be run out of town. Well, I would say with social media coming to the forefront, people have now been able to get access to alternative information, actual facts. And so now the narrative that the settler colonial state of Israel, along with the United States, has been in control of for so long is being challenged. And the reality of the genocide that is being perpetrated on the Palestinian people and the theft of their land has now started to resonate with a very large element, not only within the American non-Jewish community, but with the American Jewish community as well. And the Zionist colony cannot tolerate dissension. They can't tolerate reality. They do not want honest conversations about the war crimes that are being committed against the Palestinian people. And so that issue had an impact on Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential race. That's why a lot of people didn't vote for her. It wasn't because, black men don't want to see a black woman be. That's garbage. And if somebody could present me some data to support that foolish statement, I'd greatly appreciate it. One of the things that impacted her electability was the position that the Democratic Party took on the atrocities being committed in Palestine. And so now that issue, because AIPAC, the American Israeli Political Action Committee, is buying American elected officials to ensure that American foreign policy doesn't shift. Now that counter argument based on social media and individual contributions, and people are starting to say, I do not want my tax dollars to fund atrocities against other people of color. That is starting to impact and shift the dynamic in American elections.
I'm appreciative of your analysis. I think you're spot on. I think one of the great challenges when we look at, for example, and I want to hang around the Senate race in Michigan for a minute, the same resources that came into the state of Michigan against El Sayed, who is now the Democratic nominee, who, if you will, picked a candidate, a congresswoman who lost in the state of Michigan. Those same Democratic forces, outside money in the campaign, will not likely support Sayed for the Senate.
Correct.
During this period, they will support Sayed's Republican opponent.
Correct.
Now, while we're voting for the Democrat, El Sayed, because we're a big tent party, and usually when the victor wins, we lick our wounds and keep it moving to keep the party together and so that we can capture the seat out of Michigan, there is a strong probability that forces that would normally support the Democratic nominee, and we need that vote in the United States Senate, will take these massive resources and bring them in against the Democrat. In other words, they're playing both sides of the political ledger in these campaigns on a single issue, meaning that issues in Detroit or Kalamazoo or other cities within the state of Michigan are all on the chopping block on the questions of their domestic issues and concerns, including but not limited to Medicare for all, because those are not the forces or the issues that are driving the big money that's coming in these campaigns.
And what did Du Bois tell us in 1956? I believe that democracy has so far disappeared in the United States that no, quote, two evils, end quote, exist. There is but one evil party with two names, and it will be elected despite all I can say or do. If a voter organizes or advocates a real third-party movement, he may be accused of seeking to overthrow this government by force and violence. Anything he advocates by way of significant reform will be called communist. And what did Donald Trump say about El Sayed, about Mamdani after the election? He's a communist. That's
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest, Dr. Wilmer Leon, a regular contributor worldwide with Wilmer Leon. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
While Gavin was telling the story about the mural at LAX, I kid you not, Gavin, somebody just texted me a photo of it. See, this is unacceptable. That inside of LAX, they have a mural. These gorgeous, beautiful pictures of Destination Crenshaw. It don't look nothing like this. We don't know when they're going to restart or when they're going to finish, but they're marketing and promoting this inside of LAX. It's not right, y'all. It's just not right. You can't exploit us in that way, right? Get the project done, then you can brag about it. But can we finish it first?
Keeping them in check. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
All I need is one mic. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. August 5, 2026. Dear LA City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson, on behalf of a coalition of businesses and residents that constitute the Crenshaw Corridor community, we write to request that a concrete timeline and resources for fully completing Destination Crenshaw within a year be developed and announced. A year is the outside time it should take, and we hope and expect that it can be finished considerably sooner. We also request the immediate establishment of a business interruption relief fund for the merchants, entrepreneurs, churches, and property owners who have borne the disproportionate economic burden of the prolonged delays associated with the Destination Crenshaw project, and a resident relief fund for the residents of the corridor who have been most adversely affected by the prolonged construction and delays associated with this unfinished development. Destination Crenshaw was presented to this community as a transformational investment in Black culture, Black commerce, and the future of South Los Angeles. It has now been 6 years since the project broke ground and over 2 years since the promised completion date. Construction has stalled with no apparent end date in sight. The Crenshaw Corridor community embraced the vision of Destination Crenshaw, but the obstruction from the delayed construction has caused prolonged health and safety hazards, uncertainty, reduced customer access, declining revenues, disruptions, and mounting financial hardship. A broad spectrum of the community expressed their frustration over these delays and the impact they have had on the community at a standing room only July 30th town hall at Bethesda Temple Church, widely covered by the media, including ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. The burden of these unexplained delays should not rest on the shoulders of the Crenshaw Corridor community, which acted in good faith and supported this historic project. If the city fails to provide a complete and substantive response to this correspondence within 30 days of the date of this letter, the Crenshaw Corridor community reserves its right to pursue all of its rights and remedies. Sincerely, the Crenshaw Corridor community. To read the complete letter detailing all of our demands, go to our website at kbla1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and walk with me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is our regular contributor, Dr. Wilmer Leon, who has a PhD in political science and primary areas of Black politics, public policy, and American government for 11 years. He was a lecturer at the Political Science Department at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Dr. Leon, we've had a fairly fascinating conversation from my perspective in terms of what took place in last night's elections, where the money came from on the other side of the world that determined our representation in a conflict that largely our community is either not paying attention to, or given the domestic issues that are in front of them, they don't particularly care much for. But our leadership at the federal level is clearly being determined for us by outside forces concerned about an international conflict. I'm wondering what is lost in the caliber of our authentic leadership in the midst of this fight and in the midst of this quarrel. Will we hear less from Black leaders at a time when we should be hearing more from them?
Absolutely, because the majority of them are so wedded to the Democratic Party and to the establishment that they're there to go along to get along. They're interested more in what my dear friend and mentor Tom Porter would call the near position, N-E-A-R, the near position. They want to be near power, but they don't really want to have the responsibility of being powerful. Go back to Dr. King, 1967, April 15th. This confused war has played havoc with our domestic destinies. He's linking here the foreign policy and the domestic policy, which is getting to the crux of this conversation. This confused war has played havoc with our domestic destinies. Despite feeble protests to the contrary, the promises of the Great Society have been shot down on the battlefield of Vietnam. The pursuit of this widened war has narrowed the promised dimensions of the domestic welfare programs, making the poor, white, and Negro bear the heaviest burdens. He said, we spend $322,000 for each enemy we kill, while we spend in the so-called war on poverty in America $53 for each person classified as poor. And that was in 1967. And so as we look at a $58.7 billion contract being given to Lockheed Martin, for what? That's the question that people, 1.8 billion to Northrop Grumman, 58.6 billion to Lockheed Martin. For what?
That's
for what?
That's where we are. For what? with all of the domestic needs that we have, from education to healthcare to housing to fixing Crenshaw to wildfires to putting out and stopping floods.
For what?
For what?
Well, because that's because we're keeping America safe. No, if you stop with people, they'd stop. Look, one of the very interesting things when you listen to this dynamic about the narrative on the Middle East, what do they keep saying? Iran responded to a U.S. missile attack by sending missiles into Saudi Arabia or Bahrain, or Iran responded. You don't hear them saying Iran was the aggressor. What you hear them saying, so the point there is, maybe if you stop giving them things to respond to, maybe they would stop responding. Ever think about that, Donald Trump? Ever think about that, Hakeem?
I have one last question since you brought up Hakeem. That's exactly where I was going. We only have about a minute and 30 seconds left in our show. Dr. Leon, share with me your thoughts on what it means when the Democratic establishment aligns itself with the AIPAC money and the general election rolls around when the DSA candidate or the progressive candidate that's not of their choice wins. What kind of future does that represent for the Democratic Party? A forever war?
A forever war and a very bleak future as a party. And again, I go back to Du Bois. Democracy has so far disappeared in the United States that no two evils exist. There is but one evil party with two names. He told us that in 1956, and that is as relevant today in 2026 as it was in 1956.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our regular contributor is one of the best that's ever done it, Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Leon, welcome to the show, and I'm so grateful you were here this week.
Appreciate it, bro. Hey, folks, information is power, but it's what you do with the information that makes you powerful. Don't take my word on this. Look it up for yourself, and you'll probably see we're right.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580, Dr. S. Todd Urey and the politics of our faith when we come forward right here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now. A third suspect has been arrested in relation to the investigation into the death of Nolan Wells in Mississippi. He is Edward James Porter. This comes after earlier charges against two others. Wells, who was African-American, disappeared on Horn Island during a July 4th celebration, and he was found dead 2 days later. He was the only African-American in his group. Racial tensions abound in this case. Porter is charged with transmitting threatening communication, making bomb threats to a George County clerk's office and the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Stay with the Black Information Network for updates on this story. Millions across the Midwest are set to be slammed by a round of severe thunderstorms. Storms are set to produce heavy rain across the region, with major cities like Chicago, St. Louis, and Kansas City all expected to get hit. A level 2 out of 4 flash flood risk is in place for much of the area. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the free iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The losing streak for the Dodgers is up to 5. They lost to the Cubs 5-1 Tuesday night in Chicago. Longest losing streak of the season for the Dodgers. They did have something to feel good about last night. Pitcher Tariq Skubal was impressive in his debut with the Dodgers. Skubal, acquired in a trade Saturday night, struck out 6 in 6 innings of work. He retired 8 batters in a row before leaving after the 6th. The USC football team begins practice today with the nation's #1 recruiting class. Will that translate into a better season for the Trojans? Last year, the Trojans were 9-4, 7-2 in the Big Ten, but failed to earn a bid to the college football playoffs. In the 14 years of the playoff system, the Trojans have never been a participant. This will be the 8th season for Lincoln Riley as USC head coach, If he wants to come back for a ninth, he may have to get the Trojans into the playoffs. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. August 5, 2026. Dear LA City Council President Marquise Harris Dawson, on behalf of a coalition of businesses and residents that constitute the Crenshaw Corridor community, we write to request that a concrete timeline and resources for fully completing Destination Crenshaw within a year be developed and announced. A year is the outside time it should take, and we hope and expect that it can be finished considerably sooner. We also request the immediate establishment of a business interruption relief fund for the merchants, entrepreneurs, churches, and property owners who have borne the disproportionate economic burden of the prolonged delays associated with the Destination Crenshaw project, and a resident relief fund for the residents of the corridor who have been most adversely affected by the prolonged construction and delays associated with this unfinished development. Destination Crenshaw was presented to this community as a transformational investment in Black culture, Black commerce, and the future of South Los Angeles. It has now been 6 years since the project broke ground and over 2 years since the promised completion date. Construction has stalled with no apparent end date in sight. The Crenshaw Corridor community embraced the vision of Destination Crenshaw, but the obstruction from the delayed construction has caused prolonged health and safety hazards, uncertainty, reduced customer access, declining revenues, disruptions, and mounting financial hardship. A broad spectrum of the community expressed their frustration over these delays and the impact they have had on the community at a standing room only July 30th town hall at Bethesda Temple Church, widely covered by the media, including ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. The burden of these unexplained delays should not rest on the shoulders of the Crenshaw Corridor community, which acted in good faith and supported this historic project. If the city fails to provide a complete and substantive response to this correspondence within 30 days of the date of this letter, the Crenshaw Corridor community reserves its right to pursue all of its rights and remedies. Sincerely, the Crenshaw Corridor community. To read the complete letter detailing all of our demands, go to our website at kbla1580.com. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Talk 15 down.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are now in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary, Esquire. Dr. Yeary has 1 foot in the courtroom and 1 foot in the church. Principal of the Yeary firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Yeary is the former chief executive officer of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the international human rights organization founded by my father. Dr. Yeary's social justice work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network from 2015 to 2021, past political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP, and co-founding principal of Community Churches for Community Development Inc. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the show.
I got my seatbelt on, so I'm ready. I'm ready.
You look mighty comfortable, man. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. I just took off my Zoom attire for a virtual court.
I appreciate you, sir. Hey, let me ask you a question. Interesting election last night. El Sayed wins in the state of Michigan, obviously, to the consternation of the Democratic establishment. Everyone opposed him, including in the last minute Governor Whitmer, a popular governor, but they all lost. But then on the other hand, Cori Bush ran against Bell in Missouri, stood for many of the same issues that El Sayed stood for in Michigan, but was outspent extraordinarily in St. Louis. Two different campaigns, two different states, same issues uniting the candidates. One group funding against their candidacies over an event, a war overseas, picking and choosing the leadership in our community. Dr. Uri, your thoughts and your handicap of what took place in last night's elections.
Well, a couple of things. One, when we look at the trends nationally, where the progressive-leaning candidates are more in keeping with some of the real-life mainstream issues, if we would call them that, they tended to do very well. I think you have to start looking at what happens in parts of the country that we might call part of the Bible Belt, where even progressive politics tends to lean a little more conservatively, particularly when it comes to issues around, say, the war in Gaza. You don't have a particularly large block of Muslim Americans voting in Missouri, as they call it. Michigan's a little different, right? And so I think a couple of things. One, there's a referendum going on right now, not just in terms of the Democratic establishment, but I think it's a little more precise than that. That I think Senator Schumer is very vulnerable at this point, particularly as his seat is up in New York in 2 years. At the same time, there's the presidential election cycle. And I think that Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is paying very close attention to figure out what her options are. Her name has come up a few times. And so it's not surprising that we might see some regional distinctions in terms of just how far left the agenda would go. So doesn't surprise me too much that you have a more moderate Democratic incumbent getting reelected in Missouri, but then you have the more moderate candidate in Michigan, who was actually the favorite up until just a couple of weeks ago, actually losing in Michigan, and Michigan being one of those determining states when it comes to presidential outcomes. So doesn't really surprise me. It says you got to be very nuanced in terms of how you present your issues, but you got to know your audience and you got to know your voters.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're in the Politics of Our Faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Uri. He is one of our strongest contributors on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. He's done the work on the ground. He's on the ground. He's in the courtroom. Dr. Uri, I'm so glad that you're here with us for the next hour. We're going to continue to handicap some of these races around the country. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Brothers and sisters,
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
And we are here on the chocolate side of Los Angeles to simply lift up black dignity, black honor. No spirit of hatred here. We here because we love our people. We love the people of this community. We love the people of every corner of this city. But some of us start on the chocolate side. And so all of the critiques, all of the calls for accountability have nothing to do with ad hominem attacks on any elected official. It has to do with either indifference or incompetence, maybe even corruption. We don't know, but we just want to make sure that everyday people in this community are treated with the dignity that they deserve. That's why we're here.
Holding them accountable. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Here's the deal. The government is over $38 trillion in debt, which means the IRS is not slowing down, and the tax code is complex and unforgiving. So it's not surprising if you're one of the millions of Americans that owe back taxes to the IRS. Unfortunately, they're the world's most powerful collection agency, with the ability to garnish your wages, seize your bank accounts, and even take your home or business. But don't be stressed or worried any longer. We're Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. We have resolved over $3 billion in tax debt for our clients. Our award-winning professionals deal with the IRS every single day, fighting to protect our clients' assets and secure them the best possible deal. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, give Optima a call today.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary. Dr. Yeary, have there been any new developments from your legal mind and legal perspective in the Nolan Wells case that should be brought to the attention of our listeners today?
The tragedy of that case is that it is still subject to kind of the media whims of, what sells and the urgency of the moment. The tragic death of a young Black man is only going to hold the attention of the media space, but for so long. And so we have to cull a little deeper to really kind of stay on top of it. I do understand that there are some distinctions in terms of the autopsy findings. I do think it is rather curious that the withholding of certain parts of Nolan Wells' anatomy is a problem. It says to me that there are a couple of questions and I still haven't heard them answered. When the lungs were inspected, when they were excised and reviewed, did you find fluid, particularly water from the source where his body was found? Did you find any of that in his lungs that would point to drowning? I've not heard that yet. The other issue would be, do we have blunt force trauma on any part of the body that would indicate that there's something going on? So I think at this point, I'm really more interested in what questions are being asked as opposed to what sound bites are being given. So I have a few more questions. I know the second autopsy was done, but I think there's some follow-up now, not just what did we glean, what did we discover, but what questions still remain.
What about the others, the other African-American men who, young men who were killed in and or around July 4th? Is there a pattern here, Dr. Uri?
Well, the hunch is there's always a pattern, right? Mob behavior, copycat behavior that has white supremacy at its root is always of concern. You take folks who typically have lived in obscurity, trying to make a name for themselves by whatever method and for whatever reason. That's always a concern. And of course, the way the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence was marketed, it was actually kind of marketed like a dog whistle in many ways. So we've got to acknowledge it and admit it for what it is, even as we're still seeing, the tragedy of the reflecting pool still commanding so much time. We can look at a pool that has a black bottom, but we can't talk about a dead man who had black skin. We got a problem.
Absolutely. Dr. Uri, you understand the federal system. Nolan Wells lost his life on that island, Horn Island, which is part of the National Park Service. The federal government has yielded its authority over a death investigation on federal land to the state of Mississippi. First of all, since when has that ever happened? 7 arrests by the National Park Service over Donald Trump's swimming pool, reflecting pool fiasco. But not a single arrest 30 days after July 4th in the death of Nolan Wells. And as far as I can tell, not even a serious death investigation on federal land, which, by the way, for those of you who think it's a small thing to just kind of sit around here and wait for Mississippi to tell us what's going on, please give some thought to the idea that if you knew FBI agents were serving subpoenas all over your little city, even with a concurrent investigation from the state of Mississippi, people would be seriously lawyering up, doubling up, keeping their mouths shut, looking for a deal, willing to share information, and provide even more information for people who, after the fact, may have participated in an activity that obstructed or undermined the investigation. So the absence of the federal government and the federal pressure just leaves us in the hands of good old Mississippi. Dr. Uri?
Yeah, there are a few ripple effects. So if we go back in time to the horrific kidnapping, bludgeoning, murder of Emmett Till in Mississippi, the lawyering up was because the system protects, right? You're presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for each and every element of each and every crime that is charged before a jury of your peers, unless you opt for what we call a bench trial or a judge trial. So lawyering up, not surprising. There's a lesson here for folk who have skin that reacts when the sun reflects off of it. When you watch your TV shows and you see the police officers say you have the right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to speak with an attorney. If you're not able to afford one, one will be appointed for you by by the court. Look, the right to remain silent is a right. It is a right, but the translation is different. Bless you. In the house I grew up in, certain rights were not rights. They were clues. They were cues. The right to remain silent says, shut up. Stop talking. Get you a lawyer and find out what it is that the state is trying to put forward. Now, I get it. If I have nothing to hide, there are a whole lot of folks that ain't had nothing to hide. They got framed for all kinds of stuff. There's a reason why we have suppression hearings, because they don't always follow the rules. And the Supreme Court has said sometimes the police don't have to follow the rules. So what we see in Nolan Wells, that the state, that the government, the federal government has said, we're going to defer to local law enforcement to do the investigation. And if we have any questions, we'll come back and get it. I think some of it has to do with, let's figure out what's going to be the manner and cause of death, and let's find out if there's going to be potentially some liability. Because if they were on Horn Island and it was abandoned, do we have the potential for some sort of negligence on the part of the federal government and the Park Service that could leave them exposed?
On July 4th, not just any day, on the busiest holiday for the National Park Service in the nation, July 4th, if there is no first of all, he was found by a Park Service ranger. And it's July 4th, the busiest holiday of the year for the National Park Service in the United States on national parks, all the way from Gettysburg to Mount Rushmore. It's the busiest time. So it doesn't make sense that Horn Island would be without rangers and federal agents on federal land during the holiday. I'd like to know, even if they're not investigating, I'd like to know what their roster was. You can at least share with us if there were Park Service rangers where they were supposed to be, where apparently dozens, if not hundreds, of young people were having a great time on Horn Island. Negligence on behalf of the government, Dr. Urey?
Yeah, I don't know that Horn Island is a staffed thing, right? So, I mean, there are all kinds of questions. That's why the questions are so critical. Found where by the park ranger in relationship to Horn Island? At what time? What else was there? What else was observed? Who was around? What was the condition of the body when the ranger first observed it? You know, there are a number of questions that before you start publishing reports, you want to get some answers to. And then you start determining who would have been ultimately responsible for causing Nolan Wells' death. And did the fact that Horn Island was known to be a place where folks would come and obviously trespass, was Nolan Wells kidnapped to be brought there by the white colleagues, which then makes that an issue, certainly, of federal jurisdiction on federal charges. So I think that's the issue. The government, the federal government, is not treating this as a criminal investigation. They're just treating it as a death investigation, because federal crimes are carried forward in federal court and the prosecutors work for the federal government. And I've not heard anything from that crew.
What about the independent engineers, including Janetta Brantley, who's been on our show and has stayed in regular touch with us, who were able to excavate from the tow call critical information that says that the young people who said they left the island were actually having some kind of conversation about Nolan, about death, about, oh my God, about, damn it, Bart. I mean, all of that's taking place based upon the excavation, not only of Janetta Brantley, but Nancy Grace, and increasingly dozens of audio engineers who are following the same path that Janetta took, that she led all of us to, and they are independently confirming that there was a problem that many young people on that island, certainly people on that boat, had some knowledge of.
Again, you only get answers. There's a rule in court that you ask questions for which you should already know the answer, right? And the reason you do that is because you've already asked the questions before. You can rule out which ones are no longer relevant. There's something going on here that, as you point out, others are raising the concern, but I don't think you're going to get the interest out of a Justice Department that's in the process of trying to confirm this president's former personal lawyer to be the top law enforcement guy for the federal government in the country. I don't think you're going to get from him any sort of substantive resource commitment to investigate Nolan Wells' death. And so now you got to figure out, how do you get an often under-resourced local government, local police force to be able to do a thorough enough investigation to find out what kind of foul play was involved with Nolan Wells' death. Because if it weren't foul play, right, let's say it were an accident, it was unintentional conduct, well, that would come out. The fact that you still have all of this secrecy kind of points to the cloak that everybody's playing. The question becomes how we've got to remain vigilant and persistent in pushing, if for no other reason, to make sure that whoever is civilly responsible for Nolan Wells' death has to pay for the cost of cutting his life short.
Dr. Yeary, we have about 2 minutes before we come forward. I know that Reverend Sharpton, I think, is doing a great job in elevating this issue, along with Ben Crump, along with African-American legislators in the state of Mississippi, and obviously concerned communities who are raising it regardless of their race, their sex, or their class. They just don't like how it smells. I'm wondering why we haven't heard from any of the Democratic candidates running for president about calling for a federal investigation, or even members of Congress calling for a federal investigation into what happened to Nolan Wells.
Well, that's a significant question. Particularly, I would make it a little closer. The ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee is Senator Dick Durbin. He can raise the question as he gets ready to retire. He loses nothing, doesn't cost him anything. He can certainly put forth the request because his committee would have some level of jurisdiction over the subject matter.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now. A third suspect has been arrested in relation to the investigation into the death of Nolan Wells in Mississippi. He is Edward James Porter. This comes after earlier charges against two others. Wells, who was African-American, disappeared on Horn Island during a July 4th celebration, and he was found dead 2 days later. He was the only African-American in his group. Racial tensions abound in this case. Porter is charged with transmitting threatening communication, making bomb threats to a George County clerk's office and the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Stay with the Black Information Network for updates on this story. Millions across the Midwest are set to be slammed by a round of severe thunderstorms. Storms are set to produce heavy rain across the region, with major cities like Chicago, St. Louis, and Kansas City all expected to get hit. A level 2 out of 4 flash flood risk is in place for much of the area. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the free iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Here's a stat that should be a major concern for Dodgers fans. The Dodgers are 3-7 since they went to the White House on July 23rd to celebrate last year's World Series championship with Trump. A lot of people told the Dodgers they shouldn't go, but they went anyway. No matter which side of the political debate you fall on, It is plain to see that the Dodgers have been struggling since that White House visit. The Dodgers hope to snap their 5-game losing streak tonight in Chicago against the Cubs. Some key dates to put on your calendar for USC football this season. USC opens up at home August 29th against San Jose State. Ohio State comes to town October 31st. The Trojans play at defending national champion Indiana November 14th. The UCLA football team, with new coach Bob Chesnick, opens up at Cal on September 5th. UCLA wraps up the season November 28th against USC at the Rose Bowl. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Turn the dial to where the truth lives. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
Number 14. That's where Talkers Magazine ranked Tavis Smiley on their heavy 100 list of the 100 most important talk radio hosts in America. Join Tavis weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt?
With Civic Tax Relief, they were able to save me upwards of $80,000 that I would have had to pay had I not reached out to them.
Get ready for a toll-free hotline. Take advantage of new IRS tax forgiveness programs that may protect you from IRS collection agencies.
I owe the IRS $37,000.
They have the power to garnish your wages, put liens on your property, and levy your bank account. Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS.
Civic Tax Relief basically represented me against the IRS. By the time everything was completed, I didn't owe the IRS anything.
Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
I would recommend anyone who has a tax problem to contact Civic Tax Relief.
Just call 800-285-3500, 800-285-3500. Don't wait. Call now. 800-285-3500, 800-285-3500.
It's the show everybody's talking about. What's up, y'all? I'm Amanda Seals with a personal invitation for you to join me every Friday here on KBLA Talk 1580. Now, you get 2 chances to tap in, noon to 2 p.m., and again from 4 to 6 p.m. Real talk, no filter, just you and me on the highest of vibrations. Fridays only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's good, KBLA delegation? I am Miles Lowe, and I'm excited to be joining the weekend lineup right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Join me every Saturday at 12 noon for the Do Better Show, where we get into the world of tech, AI, the creator economy, navigating your mental health through it all, and have conversations with founders to find out how real people are making real money right now. It's not a course, not a subscription. Classes in session every weekend, live on the air. So if you knew better, you do better, right? So let's make a better you. The Do Better Show every Saturday, 12 noon, replaying again at 7 p.m. right here on Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk to me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Wednesdays, and on Wealthy Wednesdays, we are always in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary. So grateful for his contribution to our show and to this dialogue. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the show.
Always good to be with you, my brother.
Dr. Yeary is a civil rights attorney and a public policy advocate. Dr. Yeary holds a deep belief that honest dialogue creates opportunities to form strategic partnerships that strengthen families and communities. Dr. Yeary, let me pivot to something for a moment. During the break, I asked our producer, Gina, if she could find out for me what the price of gasoline was in Los Angeles. And she says, for regular gas, it's $5.64. For mid-grade, $5.88. Premium, $6.07. And if you're driving a diesel, almost $7 a gallon. Seven. That's what she said, $7 a gallon. Clearly, affordability is on the ballot in California. Dr. Yeary, how serious is the issue? And is there going to be any relief in sight if you're on the 405, the 5, the 10, or the 118 right now?
You could be on the 5, the 10, the 15, 20, the 25, the 30, the 35, and the 40. And you can pick one. It doesn't matter where you are, gas is high. As a matter of fact, when you started talking, I said, let me see what the average gas price was the week before this insanity called the Iran war started. It was $2.96 a gallon. Oh, that's wow. Nationwide. So you're gonna find some stuff all over the place. Sooner or later, it's going to be too costly to pay attention, much less pay for gas. It's just nuts out in these streets. And if you think about it, transportation costs to get goods to market is probably only second to the labor costs that are involved to get them in the distribution chain. And so if you have stagnant wages, if you have higher productivity costs, I now have to spend more money for essentials. Now you put those who are, these aren't folks that, just trying to game the system. The working poor, if we look at that sociological definition, are folks who, at least on paper, look like they make enough money to be able to actually do pretty well. But when you look at the cost of goods, they're operating on a tight margin, and it doesn't take much for them to fall into the tipping point where now you've got credit card debt, you've got the risk of foreclosure. Pay attention to that bubble. Pay attention to that bubble. It's a real thing. And so affordability is a big word. Sometimes I wish that, stop giving me the single word label. Like, talk to me like regular folks. Stuff costs too much money. Folks understand what that is. And when you ask them, well, what stuff, they can tell you lights, food, gas, medicine, right? Forget a vacation, can't take one. Christmas is coming up. Retailers are going to be relying on that period of time from the day after Thanksgiving until Christmas Eve to be able to turn their balance sheets over. And in the meantime, you've got this renewed thrust on tariffs. At the end of the day, we're getting a painful lesson in why we've got to do a better job at knowing civics and how macroeconomics actually plays into our politics.
Dr. Yeary, yesterday, our very special guest on the program was attorney Ashley Harrington. She is one of the senior policy advisors at the Legal Defense Fund. And of course, they're dealing with a myriad of cases, but her specialty is student loans. Having had an internship or having worked in the Department of Education, she says we're looking at a $1.7 trillion crisis, with many of these student loans now being turned over to the Treasury Department for crisis, for enforcement in terms of either paying them or returning the monies to the Department of the Treasury, not to the Department of Education. That's not helping the affordable crisis either. These young people borrow this money under the assumptions that they would go to college, be able to get a certain kind of job in a quickly transitioning economy, and now they owe money back that they cannot pay. What becomes of them, Dr. Yeary, in this environment?
let me frame a contrast, right? You turn it over to Treasury for enforcement, for collection, because there's the expectation and the requirement that you're going to file taxes. And for many folks in our community, we file taxes early because the tax refund, if we're going to get one, helps to kind of settle some of the debt that may have been taken on during the holidays or paying for whatever that next vacation is. Now, so you give it to the Treasury, Treasury like, look, you got to file taxes. We know you got stuff. We can take it. We can apply where we want to. Now, let's contrast that with the the acting Attorney General, who is about to become the Attorney General of the United States, who is about to cut a deal with the government, particularly the president and his family, to insulate not him, but them from any kind of prosecution tied to their taxes. And I did not hear any limit to the scope of how that would apply. It almost says that they would be granted immunity to be tax cheats for the rest of their days. Folks who are struggling, contributing to the economy, trying to get something back, a hard day's pay for a hard day's work, that's not what's happening. But you raise the very reason why you can't get so frustrated that you don't show up and stand in line, because the only reason they're able to do it, they didn't get hired for the job, they got elected. Somebody voted for them. And so at the end of the day, the pain that we're experiencing is a byproduct of the political system that we should be invested in making sure we don't have those issues. And so when you talk about what happened last night and we see these trends kind of going in different directions, it all comes down to the bottom line. It's a math problem. Who votes and who doesn't? And so that determines what the issues are going to be. And certainly it gives the president and his cronies all the cover they need to do all kinds of craziness at our expense.
Earlier in our program, our regular contributor, Dr. Wilmer Leon, laid some of this conversation firmly at the feet of the American Israeli Political Action Committee, particularly when it comes to issues like the quality of our leadership that will be going to Washington on not the issues of domestic economic concerns within the Black community, but issues largely tied to the Gaza Strip, Iran, Israeli security, but not to the fundamental issues of economic growth, development, opportunity, at a time when our community itself is under assault. We saw that kind of money spent in the El Sayed race. We saw that kind of money spent in a race against Cori Bush. We saw that kind of money spent in my race for Congress just a few short months ago. Dr. Uri, your thought about picking and choosing Black leaders in this environment?
Self-interest is a thing. AIPAC pays for what AIPAC wants. I don't expect AIPAC to pay for what I want. And so I have to get folks, and we learned this actually from your father, right? That we're not trying to compete in a marketplace that doesn't reflect or have what we're looking for. We get on. If we think about the modern civil rights movement and how that worked, we got that funded through passing hats and folks making sacrifices and investing in what was necessary to get our agenda forward. So AIPAC does what it does. We have to be clear, though, that we shouldn't expect AIPAC's self-interest to somehow be our self-interest if we've not confirmed it. And the only way we can confirm it is to make sure that we stand in solidarity with people who are in line with our values and our community's needs. Partnership
Jesse Jackson Jr., you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're in the politics of our faith with Dr. Uri. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
And we are here on the chocolate side of Los Angeles to simply lift up black dignity, black honor. No spirit of hatred here. We here because we love our people. We love the people of this community. We love the people of every corner of this city. But some of us start on the chocolate side. And so all of the critiques, all of the calls for accountability have nothing to do with ad hominem attacks on any elected official. It has to do with either indifference or incompetence, maybe even corruption. We don't know, but we just want to make sure that everyday people in this community are treated with the dignity that they deserve. That's why we're here.
Holding them accountable. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight illnesses like pneumococcal pneumonia and RSV. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and can help protect you from getting really sick. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. See more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The BLM Center for Black Power is a hub for Black activism in the city of Los Angeles, a standalone nonprofit affiliated with Black Lives Matter LA. The venue is home to live events, meetings, and organizing drives for Black-led community-based organizations. It is also the base of operations for Black Lives Matter LA. Built on what used to be a nuisance property owned by an arms dealer, the BLM Center for Black Power is in the heart of Leimert Park and has opened its doors to everything from youth organizers to toy drives to film screenings and community town hall meetings. To make a donation or make a request, please visit blmla.org. That's blmla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Ready to order.
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King of all the ball. Come on, talk to me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk to me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are in the politics of our faith with Dr. S. Todd Eury. Dr. Eury, welcome forward to the show.
Good to hang out with you. I think I'm ready for the last segment. Let's see what you got.
Well, just before we do that, I don't think I do this enough for you. Dr. Eury, how can our listeners follow you? What's the best way to do that?
Social media, Civil Rights Rev on YouTube, Instagram. You can look up my last name, Google me, Yeary, Yeary. Don't put an L in it. A lot of folks do that so you don't find me. I'm not typically hard to find, or you can catch me on douglaschurch.net if you want to see a little bit of what happens around here on Sunday morning. But if you're looking for milk toast and, you know, some of that kind of soft serve ice cream, go on and look somewhere else. That's I don't have what you're looking for
over here in the Yeary space. I appreciate that. Hey, Doc, let me ask you this question as we prepare to close our show. One of the great challenges of this hour is the contextualization of our history and this moment. And I don't know anyone who can really do it better or clearer than you. Can you share with us and those who can hear our voices why we are feeling the way we are feeling at this moment?
Well, you give me too much credit. Anything that I have learned to do over the years, I learned probably spending a good bit of time, not just sitting at the feet of your father, but talking to him on the phone and listening to him muse about the condition of our people. How do you deal with what you've got? Sometimes we find our grounding in how we express as a people of oral tradition. We talk out, we sing out, we share, we write poetry that really speaks to the urgency of the moment. And so I'm often reminded of, you know, the last kind of major period where we felt anything similar to where we are now was the height of the civil rights movement. And quite honestly, you know, Marvin Gaye was right. You know, there's a song that we sing that's not in the hymn book in the church, but it is a hymn of the church. And that song is What's Going On? Far too many of us dying, far too many of us crying. Right? It's talking about where we are. And so we have to be clear that we can express the pain that we are feeling and not feel as though we have to filter it through somebody else's expectations. And so that's why Dr. Du Bois says we have these two warring ideals, you know, a Black and an American, two unreconciled strivings in one dark body. At the end of the day, we flow different, we talk different, we reason different, we analyze differently. We are people of rhythm and hope and spirituality. And so that's what we tap into in this moment that allows us to navigate not just a pain or any pain, it is our pain for our generation, because the generations that have gone before us have shown us how to handle that pain and turn it into the power that's necessary to transform the moment.
Dr. Eury, there's a great redistricting fight taking place in Maryland right now at this hour. Share with our listeners its significance because it is part of this discussion?
It's a part of the discussion in Maryland. So the Maryland delegation is overwhelmingly Democratic. There's one Republican representative out in the western part of the state. There had been some pushback against the governor's request to redistrict and actually put it up for a referendum, not even to just redraw the map, but let the people decide. There was a tug of war that really wasn't a tug of war between the governor and the president of the Senate, also a Democrat. Both chambers in Maryland have supermajorities. And this thought that somehow or other we would have a legal fight, and then lo and behold, the week after the session ended, the Supreme Court came down with its ruling that basically endorsed political gerrymandering. So the governor is calling now back because he knows that, and he knows that the Senate president knows that the argument that you put forth, it was flawed in the beginning. And now all he's trying to do is to say, look, it's up to the people. The best redistricting commission you can have is to put it in front of the people and let the people decide. Now, some people tried to add a secession amendment. They got parts of Maryland that want to become parts of West Virginia. When was the last time you heard something so crazy in your life?
When West Virginia left the state of Virginia, and became West Virginia during the Civil War?
They want to become some counties in Western Maryland are actually toying with the idea that they want to become part of West Virginia.
Wow.
Now, you're starting to see that kind of pre-Civil War kind of language, right? We want to kind of start that kind of craziness. To your earlier point, we have to stay grounded in what's real, right, and what's true. And so they're gonna come up with all kinds of things. At the end of the day, there aren't but so many places you can run. You can't run nowhere and get away from either Black people or the influence of Black people. So good luck with that. In the meantime, we got to make sure we handle our business and do what we need to do.
Love you, Dr. Uri. Appreciate you. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Can't wait to see you until next week, Dr. Uri.
I'll be here.
More on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Uri, whose mind is exceptional, and the realities that he confronts on a daily basis on behalf of our people, not only in the state of Maryland, but around our country, is critical. His voice is just as loud. His reasoning is just as clear. And we're grateful for the time that he gives us right here at KBLA Talk 1580 on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, and the 110. See you guys tomorrow. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.